Have you ever played a game so unsettling that its images linger in your mind, haunting you in quiet moments, resurfacing when you close your eyes and least expect it? The first scary game many of us experience is hide and seek. At first glance, it seems innocent, but beneath its surface is fundamentally unsettling. For the one who's hiding, it's an exercise in tension. Every breath stilled, every sound amplified. It taps into a primal instinct of prey and hunter. The fear of being found, it makes you feel small, vulnerable. When we think of platformers, horror doesn't usually come to mind. Instead, we associate platformers with the colorful, fluffy mascots like Crash Bandicoot, Mario and Sonic. But what happens when platformers place us into a deadly game of hide and seek? This fear of being found lies at the core of an emerging genre, horror platformers. I believe the first ever made modern horror platformer is the independent title Limbo, developed by the Danish studio Playdeads. The game was intentionally designed with minimalism in mind, from its dark art style, limited player actions, and the complete absence of text or guidance. This deliberate approach immerses players, compelling them to discover the game's mechanics through trial and error. The game director Arne Jensen drew inspiration for Limbo from his personal experiences. The eerie forest environments were inspired by the woods near his childhood home, while the menacing spiders reflect his deep-seated arachnophobia. The game's unconventional vision was almost alternated during its production. Investors found it too tense and struggled to grasp its artistic direction. The graphic nature of the boy's deaths even sparked suggestions to add a mustache to the character, making him appear older. Investors believed that the idea of a graphic child's death on screen was simply too disturbing. The first time I played a horror platformer was Inside, Playdeads' second game. From the moment the game begins, it plunges you into a cold, oppressive and unrelentingly dark world. It's minimalistic at its core. The graphics are simple, with nearly monochrome colors, a sort of desaturated realism, designed to make you feel empty. You control a nameless boy and there is no introduction or explanation. You're immediately forced to run for your life. This world isn't just hostile, it's a machine, perfectly designed to crush anything that doesn't conform. Law enforcement is after you and the punishment for being caught is brutal. It's death, a very graphic and painful one, making every single loss feel personal. And there is no way to fight back. All you can do is run, hide, or sometimes pretend to be them. Them refers to strange zombie-like humans, soulless beings devoid of any free will. These are human shells, the result of a terrifying scientific experiment designed to break your will. To my surprise, we can control them with the power of the mind and some scientific devices. The lead character uses them to move objects and solve puzzles, essentially clearing a path to progress and escape, and he doesn't seem to care much about what happens to them. These shells are expendable. As I kept running away from this oppressive machine of a world in Inside, I found myself wondering, am I escaping from a scientific experiment, or is my escape part of the experiment itself? Could it just be another form of control? Around the age of 3, children begin to develop their own free will, and that's when parents start to notice more frequent arguments with their toddlers. Simple tasks like asking them to take their shoes off can become a challenge. However, there is a clever tactic called illusion of choice. Instead of ordering them to take their shoes off, a parent might ask, "Do you want to take your shoes off first or eat an apple?" By choosing one of the options, both of which are acceptable to the parent, the toddler feels like they've made the decision on their own, while the parent is satisfied with either outcome. This allows the parent to maintain control over the decision making, what the child should do, what they should wear, what they should eat. In Little Nightmares, just like in life, control is not as straightforward as it seems. You play as a strange child in a yellow raincoat named Six. From the moment you step into its world, you're reminded of how small and powerless you are. Massive doors tower above you, and you're forced to navigate through tiny cracks and ventilation shafts like an insect. Everything in the environment feels oversized. Doors, windows, keys, lamps. Every object seems designed for giants, not for small kids like 6. But it's not just the environment that makes you feel small. The monsters, grotesque, oversized caricatures of adult humans, are always eating and hungry, waiting for their next meal. Their existence revolves entirely around consumption, and if you're not careful, 6 could become their next victim. Little Nightmares thematically explores the concept of consumerism, uncontrollable, overwhelming hunger, both literal and metaphorical. In fact, the original title for the game was Hunger. The beauty of Little Nightmares lies in how it conveys these deep themes and metaphors without a single line of dialogue. It's dark and twisted, with every monster serving as a metaphor for human obsession and the harm unchecked desires can inflict. The art style, while dark, retains a childish quality. Much like Tim Burton's movies, it's cartoony yet eerie, reminiscent of a child's nightmare. It doesn't aim for realism, but its surreal design makes it deeply unsettling. And the most terrifying part, even if you manage to eventually escape all the monsters and hide from the beasts trying to devour on 6, the hunger remains. Eventually, even 6 will have to eat. The sequel, Little Nightmares 2, expands on these themes. Playing as Mono, you are surviving in a world where television screens mesmerize people, as if they steal their souls. The game's larger environments and increased interactivity amplify the feeling of being small. The spaces are more expansive, the monsters are even scarier, and in the sequel, you have to interact with objects twice the size of the lead character. In both Little Nightmares, the world doesn't welcome anyone too small to fit in. It twists and breaks them, transforming them into monsters. Both games ask unsettling questions about human nature. Are we truly in control of our desires, or are we slaves to them? There is something inherently terrifying about children in media. We're used to movies like The Omen, Children of the Corn, or The Shining. We choose children to scare us. It's not just films. Games too have done this plenty. At the heart of this fear lies the belief that the child's soul is supposed to be innocent and pure. When horror subverts this expectation by portraying children as dangerous or evil, it taps into a deeply eerie and symbolic fear. It's the fear of the loss of innocence. Horror platformers force us to step into the shoes of these children, the ones who can become evil. In contrast to the minimalist world of Inside or the cartoonish style of Little Nightmares, Bramble, the Mountain King, stands out with a very different, distinctive look. At the start, Bramble feels safe, even magical, as you explore a fairy tale land with Ollie and his sister. The game doesn't shy away from vibrant colors, using this magical world to lure you into a false sense of security, creating a sense of wonder and enchantment. But the fairy tale quickly takes a dark turn. Ollie's sister is kidnapped by a bloodthirsty troll, and the world reveals its true, horrifying nature. Most of the creatures in this tale are monsters, out to kill you. They are inspired by cautionary tales, stories adults tell children to warn them about the dangers of the woods, talking to strangers, staying out in the dark, or getting too close to the water. The scale of the monsters is on a whole different level. They are not just huge in comparison to Ollie, but they dominate the screen, often filling it entirely with their monstrous presence. The creatures are enormous, not only in size, but in overall their sense of menace. Each monster has a story behind why they are the way they are. Many of them are deeply unsettling, dealing with mature themes like grief and loss. And if that is not enough, Bramble also features plenty of gore, jump scares, and a constant feeling of tension. Even when you manage to escape an encounter, you get the sense that you're walking towards something even worse. The danger is always lurking. Bramble, the Mountain King, doesn't just show you a dark fairy tale, it forces you to live it. It builds up a sense of wonder, only to leave your blood running cold. At its core, Bramble tells a story about family and asks a haunting question: how far would you go for the ones you love? While playing these games, I couldn't shake off a deeply uncomfortable feeling. The first night, after encountering the troll in Bramble, I even had nightmares. I'm usually fine with horror games, especially when I can fight back. A few jump scares? No problem. Zombies or space monsters? Bring it on. But feeling small and vulnerable, that's an entirely different kind of fear. These games put you in the shoes of a defenseless child, navigating worlds filled with nightmares and twisted fairy tales. They use scale and haunting themes to create an experience that stays with you long after you've set down the controller. Their ambiguity, avoiding dialogue or clear explanations, invites you to project your own fears and interpretations onto their dark symbolism. And that's what struck me the most. These games didn't just scare me, they made me think about the worlds they built, the wonders they crafted, and the unsettling questions they posed. I found myself questioning free will, consumerism and greed. They made me feel small. And I kept asking, why does feeling small unsettle me so deeply? Maybe it's because it reflects how I sometimes feel in the real world. Overwhelmed by endless conflicts, polarized opinions, relentless marketing, and insatiable greed. Feeling small and powerless. Can I escape it? Can I control anything in my life? Or as I get older, am I doomed to lose myself, becoming just another soulless shell of a person, a lost adult consumed by the never-ending desire to consume without any resemblance of free will? The true horror isn't the monsters or the traps, it's the possibility that we too might become trapped in the same cycle, unaware, lost, and apathetic.